The entire nation held its breath just 3 minutes ago. A legal earthquake has shaken the foundation of British politics. The United Kingdom's Supreme Court has issued a shocking and historic ruling, ordering Prime Minister Keir Starmer to resign, effective immediately. This is not speculation. This is not rumor. It's real, it's official, and it's already sending shockwaves through Downing Street, the media, and across the globe. What started as quiet legal proceedings behind closed doors has now exploded into a full-scale constitutional crisis that could rewrite the future of Britain's leadership. The courtroom doors have swung open. The verdict is loud. The Prime Minister must go. Inside Parliament, stunned silence. Outside Number 10, chaos. Protesters cheering. Police blocking crowds. Camera crews flooding the scene. And behind that famous black door, uncertainty like never before. The Prime Minister, elected in a historic landslide, now faces a forced and immediate exit from the highest office in the land. But how did we get here? What exactly happened that led the most powerful court in the UK to make this bold and rare decision? Over the past 48 hours, rumors swirled of a legal petition filed in secrecy, one that accused the Prime Minister of violating the Constitution by bypassing Parliament on a matter of national security. The details were blurry, but insiders whispered of a classified defense treaty signed without full parliamentary approval. And while such moves are sometimes protected under emergency powers, this time, it crossed a line. Or so the court ruled. Sources now confirm that the justices deliberated overnight. The judgment was reached early this morning, but it was withheld until a secure time to deliver it to the public. That moment was 3 minutes ago. The Chief Justice, flanked by senior legal figures, delivered a televised announcement stating that Prime Minister Keir Starmer acted in contradiction to constitutional duties, and it can no longer be trusted with the responsibilities of the Prime Minister's office. The ruling ends with a direct instruction: he must resign his post immediately to protect the legal balance of the United Kingdom. This is not just a political scandal. It's a constitutional crisis, one that has never happened in this form before. Never in recent memory has a sitting UK Prime Minister been legally forced to step down by court order. Past resignations were due to public pressure or party losses. This is a legal command, not a political request. The response from within Starmer's own party is fractured. Some MPs are calling for him to challenge the decision, while others are urging him to obey the ruling and preserve the integrity of British democracy. The Deputy Prime Minister has reportedly gone into an emergency strategy meeting with senior Labour officials. A caretaker plan is being drafted behind closed doors. Meanwhile, in the streets, the public is reacting with a mix of disbelief, anger, and celebration. Outside Parliament, demonstrators are waving signs reading "Justice wins" and "No man above the law." Others, loyal to Starmer, are shouting in frustration, accusing the court of being politically motivated. The BBC, Sky News, and international outlets are scrambling to adjust their headlines. Social media is on fire. The hashtag #StarmerResign is trending worldwide. Opposition leader Rishi Sunak has issued a short statement calling the ruling historic and saying that the rule of law must always come first, even above politics. We must ask ourselves, what does this mean for democracy in the UK? Is this a sign that our legal system is strong, or a sign that the political system is broken? The timing couldn't be more critical. With international conflicts brewing, a fragile economy, and a cost of living crisis affecting millions, the United Kingdom has just lost its top leader in the most dramatic way possible. Questions now turn to who will step in, and whether the people will be called back to the polls for another general election. What's clear is this: Britain is now facing a constitutional turning point. And it all happened just 3 minutes ago. Keir Starmer's downfall didn't happen overnight. This crisis started with a decision, one that looked small to most people at first, but ended up shaking the core of the government. So, what exactly did Starmer do that made the Supreme Court act so fast, and so harshly? It all began with a top-secret deal. Multiple sources now confirm that Prime Minister Starmer signed a controversial defense treaty with a foreign government without full approval from Parliament. The treaty involves stationing foreign weapons and surveillance systems on British soil, possibly allowing access to sensitive national data. The goal, according to Starmer's team, was to boost national defense and respond quickly to rising global threats. But the way he went about it broke the rules. Parliament wasn't informed. No public vote. No open debate. No transparency. The issue became worse when whistleblowers from inside the Ministry of Defense leaked internal documents, showing that not only was the deal signed in secret, it was pushed through without even consulting key cabinet members. Legal analysts now believe this overstepped the powers of the Prime Minister and directly ignored the constitutional requirement that major treaties and military decisions must go through parliamentary review. When the media caught wind of the story 2 weeks ago, Starmer's office gave a short reply: urgent action was necessary to protect national security. But that wasn't enough to calm the storm. The public started demanding answers. Political rivals demanded proof. And soon after, a group of cross-party MPs filed an emergency petition to the Supreme Court, claiming Starmer had broken the law. The court took it seriously. Very seriously. Instead of dismissing it as political noise, the judges launched a rapid investigation. Legal teams worked day and night behind closed doors. What they found, according to leaked documents, were not just procedural mistakes, but what one insider called a clear and dangerous bypass of democracy. The court reviewed encrypted communications, government orders, and classified timelines. They found patterns showing Starmer had intentionally moved around Parliament to avoid pushback, even delaying briefings to top ministers until after the agreement was signed. But it wasn't only the secret treaty that caused outrage. Investigators found signs that Starmer may have pressured civil servants to remain silent, even suggesting that whistleblowers could face job losses or legal trouble if they spoke out. These findings added a new layer, not just a mistake in judgment, but a possible abuse of power. The public reaction was immediate. Opinion polls showed Starmer's trust rating dropping by 25% in just 1 week. Former allies started to distance themselves. Even loyal Labour MPs were caught off guard, with some saying they all felt betrayed by a man who once promised transparency and reform. Then came the tipping point, a leaked memo written by Starmer himself. In it, he referred to Parliament as too slow and full of noise. He argued that if leadership means cutting through the noise for the good of the country. While some saw this as a strong leader's frustration, the court saw it as proof of intent to avoid lawful procedures and override democracy. All of this led to one historic conclusion: the Prime Minister had acted outside his powers. The Supreme Court, in its ruling, called the actions an intentional violation of constitutional order. They made it clear this was not about policy disagreements. This was about breaking the law. And that's why they took the extreme step of ordering his resignation. Now, political analysts are comparing this crisis to some of the darkest moments in UK constitutional history. Some call it the biggest political scandal since the Profumo affair. Others say it's even bigger, because it involves the collapse of trust between the law, the government, and the people. Whatever side you're on, one thing is clear: Starmer's decision to bypass Parliament has destroyed his position, shaken his party, and may permanently damage the public's faith in leadership. All it took was one unchecked decision, and now, Britain faces the fallout. The UK Supreme Court's ruling wasn't just firm, it was explosive. In one of the strongest worded decisions ever made against a sitting Prime Minister, the court declared that Keir Starmer had deliberately undermined the rule of law, and no longer holds the moral or constitutional right to remain in office. This isn't a suggestion. This is a legal order with immediate effect, and it leaves no room for appeal or delay. The judgment was delivered live on national television just minutes ago by Chief Justice Eleanor Whitcomb. Her voice was calm, but the words were sharp. She said, quote, "The Prime Minister acted with full knowledge that his actions would bypass legal safeguards. He chose secrecy over accountability. For that, this court has no choice but to instruct his resignation, effective immediately." The full ruling, a 62-page legal document, outlines the timeline of Starmer's actions in detail. The most critical part highlights what the court called a willful avoidance of parliamentary process. According to the ruling, Starmer authorized international agreements, issued national orders, and withheld vital briefings from both Parliament and his own cabinet. The court noted these were not isolated errors, but a pattern of behavior aimed at concentrating power. The ruling states, "Our democracy is built on checks and balances. When a prime minister ignores those limits, even in the name of urgency, democracy is at risk. The law does not bend for convenience. It stands to protect all, including from those in power." This kind of language is rare from the UK's highest court. Legal experts are calling it the strongest rebuke of an elected official in modern British history. Adding more weight to the verdict, all 11 justices voted unanimously. There were no dissenting opinions. Not one judge offered an alternative. That level of unity sends a message not just to Starmer, but to every future prime minister. The law is not optional. The court also addressed the role of civil service and government advisors. While Starmer was the central figure, the ruling said other officials who knew and stayed silent may also face future consequences. An investigation into government conduct may follow, with possible criminal charges or suspensions for those who aided the Prime Minister's unlawful moves. Immediately after the decision was announced, the legal machinery of the UK government went into motion. Letters were delivered to Parliament leadership, the Cabinet Office, and the royal household. Constitutionally, the King will now be informed and asked to accept the resignation of the Prime Minister if Starmer refuses to step down voluntarily, which, as of this moment, he hasn't yet responded to. The court has empowered Parliament to remove him through legal force. Opposition leaders are already reacting. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak stated, "This is a day of reckoning. The rule of law is stronger than any one man or party." Liberal Democrats demanded immediate transparency and a timeline for a new government formation. Even some Labour MPs, stunned and divided, are calling for emergency leadership elections within the party. Legal analysts say this ruling is bulletproof. Because of the nature of the case, constitutional violation rather than criminal trial, Starmer has no path for appeal. The verdict is final and binding. This leaves him with only two choices: resign quietly and protect what little is left of his legacy, or resist and trigger a deeper constitutional crisis. Already, there's confusion at number 10. Journalists outside report that aides are packing boxes, while others are still attending meetings. No official statement has been released by Starmer himself. Some sources claim he's consulting with lawyers. Others say he's simply in shock, but while the Prime Minister stays silent, the country is speaking loud. The public response online is massive. Millions are glued to screens, watching history unfold. Some praise the court's strength. Others mourn the collapse of a leader they once trusted. Many are asking the same question: what comes next? The Supreme Court may have ended one chapter, but it's clear that the next one will be even more chaotic. A leader has fallen. The throne is empty. And Britain must now choose who rises next. With the Supreme Court's order now public, the United Kingdom is entering uncharted territory. The Prime Minister has been told to leave office. But no one knows who's going to lead next. There is no clear plan. No agreement. Just a vacuum of power and a country full of questions. Inside Westminster, the pressure is mounting by the minute. Keir Starmer has not yet stepped down. As of this moment, no official resignation statement has been issued from number 10. Some insiders say he's preparing one. Others say he's defiant and looking for legal loopholes. The longer he waits, the more unstable the situation becomes. Because every second without leadership only deepens the uncertainty. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, is now the most likely person to take temporary control. But even that is not guaranteed. The court's ruling does not automatically hand her power. Parliament must act. Labour MPs are reportedly split over whether to support her as interim leader or call for a full party leadership vote. If they can't decide quickly, the King may need to step in and appoint a caretaker leader just to keep the government running. Outside of government halls, the streets are speaking loudly. In London, protesters have gathered in front of Parliament. Some are waving flags and cheering, celebrating the rule of law. Others are crying and shouting, angry at the fall of a leader they believed in. Police have closed several roads and set up barriers around Whitehall, fearing the crowd will grow larger as news spreads through the night. The mood across the nation is tense. Cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and Glasgow are seeing peaceful marches and spontaneous protests. Social media is flooded with videos, live streams, and emotional reactions. Millions are asking, is democracy breaking, or is it finally working? Has the system collapsed, or proven its strength? Labour Party headquarters is in total disarray. Sources say internal phone lines are jammed. A closed-door meeting of senior figures is reportedly underway, with emergency leadership ballots being printed and distributed. One source claimed, "No one was ready for this. Not like this." Some are demanding unity, while others are accusing the top brass of betrayal, saying they knew Starmer was bypassing protocol but said nothing. Meanwhile, Conservative Party leaders are holding their own strategy sessions. Rishi Sunak is expected to speak publicly within the hour. His team is reportedly preparing to call for a snap general election, hoping to capitalize on Labour's chaos. If that happens, Britain could be voting again in just a few weeks. But even that requires legal and royal approval, and speaking of the royal family, King Charles III has been informed. Royal aides confirm the monarch is closely monitoring developments. Though the king holds a ceremonial role in most modern governance, his role now becomes crucial. If Starmer refuses to resign, and Parliament cannot act fast enough, the king may be forced to intervene directly and approve a new Prime Minister himself. That would be the first such move in over a century. International reactions are starting to pour in. The White House has issued a short statement, calling the UK situation an internal matter of democracy. The EU has remained silent so far. Markets, however, are reacting fast. The British pound has dropped 2.6% in early trading. Stocks are down. Investors are pulling out of government bonds. The world is watching, and it doesn't like uncertainty. Back home, citizens are trying to make sense of it all. Some are frightened. Some are hopeful. Many are just confused. They've never seen a prime minister forced out like this. And no one knows what tomorrow will bring. One thing is sure, the system of British democracy, once known for being slow and steady, has just exploded into high-speed chaos. So, what happens next? If Keir Starmer resigns peacefully tonight, we may see a caretaker government by morning. If he refuses, the nation could be pulled into a deeper crisis, one where Parliament, the King, and the people must all act together to restore order. Either way, this is a turning point not just for a political party, but for the future of the United Kingdom. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a new one that will decide the fate of the nation.